All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started. Today you may very well not need them, so if you don't have anything like this, don't worry about it, don't stress. But I have two blocks. If you have like some stacks of books or anything in a yoga block kind of size functionality. I've used protein powder jars and beer growlers. All of that stuff is cool. And again, it's not going to make or break your practice. I think come and find a comfy seat. I like to sit up on a pillow, sometimes with a dog in my lap. And as we begin practice today, we're going to start with a little bit of a somatic exercise. I'm going to tell what I hope is going to be a quick story about that before we start. I've been talking to a friend of mine, and we often get into these very like meta what is and how do we work on like being people and who are mindful and aware of this world. And I was talking with him about thought I had come to this realization for myself that the difficulties that I often have with identifying with my feelings, especially as they come to matters of the heart and matters of heartbreak, is that I end up identifying with these feelings in a linguistic way. These words, and then words are like these labels, and these labels have definitions, and these words and these definitions and these labels often bring us to these like societal expectations of how you manage these feelings and these definitions, like these outside influences of where do I go from here. And so I said, what if it might be better to go at our examining of what is, to go at our tuning into our feelings and our experiences from a more somatic or sensory kind of approach. And then my friend said, well, shoot, I feel like my most difficult emotion to deal with, and the thing that comes up for me a lot, is anger. And it makes so much more sense to me to manage my anger with words, with a linguistic process, with logic, with more left brain kind of applications. And to which I said, well, shoot, there isn't just one way to go about anything, is there? There are many paths in one yoga, and we have all of these different opportunities in which to use what makes the most sense to us to give ourselves the greatest care. So as we go into this little somatic exercise, if it makes absolutely no sense to you, if you have no idea what the heck's going on, if you have no idea what the heck's going on in most of your yoga practice today or ever, just know that it is perfectly reasonable to be in an explorative place, to make adjustments to your poses, to your breath, to your effort. And it is all just this constant inquiry that we have into finding what is that best path for us. So come to a comfortable place. If you're like not comfy sitting up, go like prop yourself against the wall or lay down on the floor. You can be in whatever space you want, but try to come to a place where you can comfortably close your eyes or just look up at something soft in front of you if closing your eyes is uncomfortable. And I'd like you to try to be in a place where you don't have to put a lot of effort into your body, so that you can scan your body for these next couple of moments, just kind of cluing in and seeing if any specific part of your body calls out to you. And it could just be like, I've got like tight calves today, and that's fine. For me, there's this pain that I often get behind my left shoulder blade. That is it's said to be an emotional center. And just kind of take a moment, find out what that is. It doesn't have to be profound, monumental. But when you find that space, part of your body that is calling your attention, I want you to try to tune into that space and say, what does it feel like to me? What's going on here? Maybe there is a sensory application or definition that you can bring to it, an association, texture, maybe a color or a sound, I don't know. And if it makes more sense to bring this into a more linguistic response, then that's good too. I'm just using this as a brief moment of awareness into that space in your body where you feel whatever it is that you're feeling. And when you set your intention for your practice, perhaps it is to continue to examine, to inquire after whatever this feeling is and whatever this feeling might mean, if it means anything at all, because sometimes, you know, a cigar is just a cigar. And when you're ready, if you have any need to adjust your seat, if you changed what you were doing, we're going to start off with our face brushing. So you can take your index finger and your thumb together in the squishy spot at the bottom of your thumb, brush outwards from your forehead to your temples a few times. And then from the sides of your nose out to your temples. And as you do this, just kind of cluing in, how does this feel? What are the senses that come up as I do this weird thing? From temples, brush down to your chin. And from the nose, brush down to your chin. And bringing your fingertips underneath and behind your ears, feeling for the soft spot and the bony spot that's up above it. And then when you lift your head up from that point, see if there are any like sensory descriptors that come up for you. Any changes that take place in the feelings around your body or in your head space from the face brushing and the spine lifting. Take another big breath in. Stay lifted as you relax your hands down into your lap. Just recalling your intention for a moment. Take a big breath in through your nose, and then big breath out through your mouth. Again, like that. For 3 ohms. To open your eyes, we're going to shift into a swan pose as our first shape. I'm going to turn the waiting room on. I'll be there with you in a second. Hey, Daphne. Okay. So start with whatever leg, but maybe it's your right leg, and I'll mirror you here. So you're going to take your shin over. Maybe you can line it up like it's parallel to the front edge of your mat, and then slide your left leg back. And then start to bring yourself over your thigh and say to yourself, oh man, I'm so tight at this part in practice, and that's okay. Maybe a little bit more, like soft, deep connective tissue kind of work to start off with. We're gonna spend a while here. Kind of absorbing what comes up, what it feels like. Maybe there's some untangling of some of the sticky stuff, which is what yin and connective tissue work is. It's essentially being around in this position so long that the sticky stuff, the fascia, the stuff that binds us as we're still, that we can unravel some of that, that we can work it out. If you've got any more room to go further, or if it got too intense and you need to back off, go for it. Trying to simply be with and experience whatever comes up. We're going to be here 5 more breaths. Making an effort to soften every time you breathe out. And then starting to walk your hands back. You're going to take your back leg and tuck it up a little bit here. So you've got a little bit more squared off space, still not having this left foot close to your hip. We're going to come back into our deer pose, which is a stretch to the front of this thigh. We just got the outer part of this one. And you could stay here, maybe press your hip up. Maybe you come down to one or both forearms. If you're already feeling pretty loosey-goosey, you can lay down on your back, but try to keep that left knee down on the ground. Don't let it float up. Better to lift your hip up instead. We do just a little tiny bit of core work to gently feel the space between your hip bone and your belly button draw upwards towards your belly button. And then you say good afternoon to your quad muscle. Big breath in. Big breath out. Big inhale. One more exhale. And then especially if you're back to your forearms or on your back here, you're going to take your left hand, cross it over, walk yourself up. We're going to do a shift here to come up onto your right shin. That left leg is still out. Try to get those toes to face a little bit more behind you. And you're going to take your left arm up and over. So I'm going to try not to be back here. Try to get up so that your hips are above your bottom knee. Maybe you feel your outer shoulder reaching out towards those fingertips a little bit more. Release the back of your neck from your shoulders. Big breath in. Big breath out. And then you're going to keep curling under. I know, long series here. You're going to walk over towards those legs. So I've got, it's like I'm in table pose, but this one leg is hanging out. And then I'm going to turn the left toes up, bend the elbows, let my heart rest forward. Just gently. Big breath in. Big breath out. You've got more still. You're going to walk it back now however you need to. You're going to come down to seated. Right leg will be bent in. Left leg will be extended outwards. And then you're just going to kind of lower your body over this leg. Now you've barely done anything to this hamstring so far. It's probably not going to be your biggest one-legged forward fold. This is an examination is where we'll be here. And I just want you to notice, where is it tight? Where do I feel short? Where does it feel good? What happens when I breathe into any of these spaces? and trying to, we have those discernments of good and bad, and I like it, I don't like it, I shouldn't do it, I want more ice cream, whatever it is. I try to be more sensory about it, even if it's language that you give to these things. Big breath in. Big breath out. And you're gonna lift yourself back up. Last thing, turn your knee up. You can stay here or you can cross the leg over, and then you're gonna hug onto this thigh, left or right arm back behind your back. Notice the left toes are lifted here. Get up tall from the backs of your ears and then soften your belly as you twist. One more breath in. One more breath out. And then little counter twist over towards your left side. So just turn yourself over that way for a moment and release the twist. And now you're facing over towards your left leg to start setting up for swan pose. You'll swing the legs back, slide the right leg back as best you can. Not that you have to be set up exactly this way on your mat, but if you are, it's a good way to kind of see that, okay, the shin and the front edge of the mat are more or less parallel. And then trying to come forward as much towards the shin as possible. The side might feel more open, or maybe this is your tight side and it doesn't feel more open, and it's fine whichever way it is. Be here with how it is and how it changes, and know that we'll be here for a while. So if you need to back off for a bit, then giving yourself that space. Softening with each of your exhales. Let's stay here for about 3 more long, steady breaths. And starting to lift yourself up. You're going to slide that back leg up, keeping the foot away from the shin. Maybe it's parallel to the long edge of your mat. And then bringing your hands back behind you. We want the hip to lift up if anything does, and it's fine if the hip doesn't lift up. You'll get a little bit more stretch that way. Maybe you're down on one or both forearms. Maybe you think of gently shortening, but not like shorten and crunch it. Can you draw this hip point upwards in the direction of your belly button? And can you do that while still breathing? One more full round of breath. And then taking your right hand, you're going to walk it over. This is where we're going to start to slide and swing that left shin back. Turn the toes back. And come up into this side plank variation, reaching this arm up and over your head. And feeling that hip lift up, feeling these bottom ribs lift up, really creating a long arc through that side body. Release the back of your shoulder out through your fingertips. One more exhale. And then you can continue that turning over that you face out towards this long side. And then you're going to adjust your right foot so that the toes turn up, and then that might help so that your hip rests back slightly so that they might be a little bit more in line. Not that it needs to be perfect or whatever the heck perfect is. You're just going to bend your elbow and rest your heart forward. If you really want to take your forearms down, you can, but I really think that just kind of staying up here and letting this resting release that inner thigh might be a lot yummier. Big breath in. Big breath out. And you're going to start to walk yourself over more towards this leg again, and you're going to have to shift your legs, shift yourself to come out straight leg, bent knee, and then drawing yourself forward into a fold that is whatever it is right now. This will be nobody's deepest fold, I'm sure. It's definitely not mine. Finding whatever you can soften into in this place. Observing where the points of resistance are, if there are any. Deep breath in. Soften as you breathe out. And then starting to lift yourself up. You're going to take this knee and lift it up. You can leave it here on the left side of your leg or cross it over. Lift your right toes, left arm in right behind the back, hug into your thigh, lift long through the spine. Soften in your belly to allow the twist to open up. See if you can relax the collarbones outwards. Soften the heart. Keep lifting from that space behind your ears. One more breath in. One more breath out. And then you're going to release that twist, just taking it over to the other side for a moment, little counter twist. And then unwind yourself, unwind your legs. We're going to shift down to laying on our back. So scoot yourself down, bring your knees into your chest, rock yourself out a little bit. And open your knees up, find happy baby. Like your feet are planted on the ceiling. You might grab the feet or you might grab onto the shins or the backs of your thighs. Finding some movement and some shaking around if that calls to you, and if that doesn't call to you and you want to be still here, just soften in with whatever you feel. That's what you do. Two more breaths. And then release your feet. You're going to bring the knees back into your chest. Hug onto the backs of your thighs so you're holding right back behind your knees. And then you're going to try to rock yourself up into boat pose. So you're going to come up onto your hips. Notice my ears are lifting up and back behind me. My back is pretty flat, even though I've got this black altar behind me. Maybe your feet are up, but maybe they're not. Take an inhale. Exhale, start to round yourself back and pull back here. Take a big inhale. Exhale, roll through that spine, round it up. Inhale, lift your heart. Exhale, round it back. The rounding is hard, honestly. Like it's kind of easy just to like tilt it back, but can you really feel articulation in your spine to roll it up? Exhale, roll it back. You might need a couple of times. It might not feel intuitive. You can just rock yourself up to both and rock it back and both. And back, and if you're feeling really sassy, you might do it without your hands. I know I hate bow pose. I almost never do this because I don't like it in my body, but sometimes things come into our body that we need to be able to work with. And be able to work with it maybe more effectively than I don't want it. Do two more if you wanna. Give you that much. Ooh. My boat's traveled. And relax. I'm gonna take your inner thigh, or the legs open, knees wide, feet together, and then just go ahead and draw yourself forward into this fold. Oh man, my inner thighs today. They have done something that they're displeased with. Let's rest as best you can. One more round of breath. And start to lift yourself up. I'm going to swing your legs back and come into table pose. If you happen to have around you, if you wanted to pad up your knees, please do that. If you happen to have blocks, you can have those handy by the front of your mat space. We're going to start off in a lunge, taking the right foot forward. I want to bring it about as far forward as my hand was, and then come up with my hands on the front side. You're going to reach your arms back behind you. Bend your elbows to start off with. Ooh, balance. Lift those inner thighs. So draw your elbows back. Feel your heart stretch out. And then as you extend your arms, maybe your heart goes forward a little bit more as your hands go back. Inhale. Exhale. Bend those elbows. Feel the change. Inhale. Straighten the elbows. Exhale. Bend the elbows. Make sure your elbows aren't starting to go out to the side. Can you still bring them back? And then one more. Inhale. Straighten the elbows. And then you're going to come down. Left hand is going to come down to a block or to the floor. You can choose which. And you're going to take the right arm open. Reach your heart into both hands. Rest your right thigh bone back to that little shift. Soften your belly when you twist. Breathing out. And then taking both hands down. So you can do this with your back knee on the ground. That's okay. But I'm gonna cue and suggest that you have the back knee up. You do want to have both arms on the inside of your leg, which might mean you widen your right foot out a little bit. Let's curl the back knee under. Lift your back knee up. Now give yourself a moment to relax this right hip back. See if you can lift your chest. And then exhale. You're going to start to straight-ish this leg. I'm going to lift up my right toes. Now you might adjust so that these blocks are a lot higher. That's why I did say like maybe grab a thing. But if you had your hands on the floor and you had a much less straight leg, that's okay too. It doesn't have to be like that fullest extension. It's wherever you are right now. And that's really intense wherever we are. So we're gonna bend back into that knee. Take an inhale, lift the heart. Exhale, straightish the leg, which means you are making it as extended as it's gonna get for you, and you can do it slowly. And then inhale, heart goes forward. 2 more, exhale. And as you do this, pull that right hip back. Inhale. Exhale. Now things are gonna get a little bit weirder. You're gonna pivot, I know my butt's to you, all the way over to that side and come into this wide-legged forward fold. Big breath in. Big breath out. You're gonna go back to that right leg and come into that twisting lunge again. You can have your left knee down or up. You might put a block underneath your left hand. Let's lift that right arm up. Feel that right thigh pulling back. Can you lift your inner thighs? Even with your back knee on the ground, it's gonna help to draw into the center of your pelvis. From there, maybe you soften your belly and open the heart more. One more exhale. And then we're gonna take it down. Lower that back knee if it wasn't already. slide the right leg back. Go ahead and come into table pose and just take a moment to say like, what was that? Ooh, what happened in the legs and in my brain's response to that circumstance? There's a lot of poses all together. And then we'll get ready for the other side. So you're going to take your left hand forward. And you're going to come up into this lunge. You want to have your hips at least a little bit in front of that back knee. So you might scooch this foot a little bit further forward, push down in it to feel that inner thigh space coming together, which might help to make you more stable. We're going to bend the elbows, and it's kind of like you've got a friend pulling you back by the elbows, like, don't do it, man. And you're like, but I wanna. Then you reach the heart forward and the hands back. Open your chest, reach back through those fingertips. Exhale, bend the elbows. Inhale, extend, heart forward, fingertips back. Keep pushing the front foot. Exhale, bend. 2 more, inhale. Exhale. Keep trying to pull those elbows back. 1 more, inhale. Exhale. And then your right hand's gonna come down to the floor. You're just gonna give yourself the block, even if you don't need it. Just give yourself whatever space you can. We're gonna lift those inner thighs. So keep the hips forward, reach the left arm up, and try not to be down into that right shoulder, even if you're up a little bit higher because you're using the block this time. You're still reaching the heart into both hands. Open across both collarbones. Big breath in. Big breath out. And then take the hands down. You're going to either use 1 or 2 blocks or protein powder jars or whatever you have. You're going to have the hands on the inside of the leg. This leg is a little bit wider, which is going to give you a little bit more room in those hips, perhaps. This might be a good thing for you. And you can take those blocks taller, however tall is going to be a good space for you. The back knee is up or down, and if it's down, you'll slowly extend the leg back, slowly, see how far you get. And then you'll come forward as you inhale. Maybe the back knee is up. I'm gonna pull it back. I am lifting my front toes. You may not. It's giving me a little bit more space and control. Inhale, coming forward with the heart. Exhale, just extending as slow and easy as I can. Couple more, inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. 1 more, inhale. Exhale. You're going to start pivoting over towards your right side, coming into this wide-legged forward fold. See all 10 toes are forward. Drawing the body down. Oh, yeah. And bend your knees. Maybe shake your head out a little bit. Big breath in. Big breath out. And then you're going to start to walk it back over towards that left leg. So you're going to turn the left toes forward, come up on the right toes, maybe lower the knee. Maybe you stay up or grab a block for underneath the right hand. And we're going to come open into this twist again. Pull that front hip back, lift those inner thighs. Reach the heart into both of your hands. Big breath in. Big breath out. And then you come down, hands down, knee down, foot back. Go ahead and move those blocks off to the side. Let's slide the legs back, finding table pose. Take a few moments to kind of tune in here, wiggle some stuff around. And then widening the knees and pulling the hips back into child's pose. You might give a little wiggle side to side with your hips as well here. Maybe your knees aren't so wide and maybe your hips are way up here and you are at where you are at. If your knees are feeling funky and it would be better for you to rest just laying flat on your belly, kind of resting your head in your hands, do that too. That's great. We'll be going there real soon. One more breath in. One more breath out. And draw your belly in, just like when you were rolling in that boat pose. Can you roll yourself up the table? And then the knees come in line. Walk your knees back a little bit, more of a longer table. Lower as slow as you want, but with an open heart down onto your belly. Right, wiggle your legs back further, point the toes back. Elbows pull back, like when you were having that imaginary friend hold you. And then the heart lifts up into cobra pose. You lift your inner thighs. Breathing in. Exhale, soften. Push into the floor, lift yourself up. Either coming into puppy dog pose if there's no down dog for you today, or there's a down dog for you today. There's a couple down dogs. You can take a couple of puppies, maybe some table pose, maybe there's some wiggling around in this first one, walking through your heels. Pushing from those outer armpits down into your hands, relax your head. One more breath out. Gently lower your knees down. You're probably in that long table place, bringing your heart forward, maybe a little bit more forward. Lower as slowly as you like down onto your belly. Wiggle your legs back. You like shake out your fingers for a moment. In the cobra pose, this should be strong in your belly and your back and your butt and your heart, not so much in your hands if you can help it. So lift your heart up. Just one more breath in. Exhale, soften down. We're going to push back up in a downward facing dog again. Or table or puppy dog. Try to have your hips up in the air, reaching your hips back behind you. Relaxing the outer calf muscles down. Can you feel your inner thigh muscles lifting up to your hips? If the answer is what the heck no, that's okay too. Maybe another time or in another linguistic explanation. One more exhale. Look forward, softly lower your knees. We're going to lean the heart forward as much as possible. Keep the belly drawn in lower, maybe a little slower this time, knowing that it's your last one. And then maybe even come up onto fingertips to save your wrists. In this cobra pose, you might have a little bit more room this time. Reach the inner thighs skyward. Big breath in. Exhale, soften. Push down into those hands, the whole hand. Lift yourself up, downward dog. Here's our last one. It's our last one on the way up. Release the heels down, release the tailbone up. Big breath in. Big breath out. And then feet to hands and hands to feet. Come into a fold. Bend your knees, put blocks or deer growlers underneath your hands if that's going to help you feel easy in your fold. I would like you to try to feel as easy as possible in this fold. Even if it's not easy for you to fold, can you find an ease with which to do whatever you are doing? Big breath in. Big breath out. Keep the knees bent, roll yourself up, take your time. All right. We're going to have at least one of those blocks, jars, what have you, if that serves you. You're going to take this down on the inside of your right foot. So I'll mirror you. The left toes turn in slightly. We're going to start moving the thighs and the hip. Just do a couple of these little tilts. We have this like square panes of glass thing that doesn't really work for human bodies. And then there's this tilt where the right thigh bone comes back, the left hip tilts slightly forward. They're not on an even plane. They're not even front to back. And then you're going to reach out. I'm going to take this bottom arm. Just for one inhale, reach out longer spine. And then take the hand and put it down on the block or on your shin, or maybe it goes flat down on the floor. maybe not today. And you're gonna keep releasing this thigh back and softening this hip. Maybe this arm reaches up. Maybe you take the hand, the back of the hand goes behind your back and you reach the elbow away. So what happens if you reach the elbow away rather than trying to push the elbow or the shoulder back? Maybe it releases the side of your neck. It can often feel nice is to release the head, to release that whole side of the neck. Big breath in. Big breath out. You're going to draw your belly in, reach that top arm up, lift your whole self up. I have to move this block. In fact, let's take it over towards the other side. We'll turn all 10 toes forward here. We're going to take the arms behind our back. Bend your elbows, catch your hands behind your back, or hold your hips. That's all good too. So you're going to keep the elbows bent, lift your chest, feel your chest stretching open. And then take your heart forward, lift those elbows. Maybe from the lifted elbows, you extend the arms. Maybe you keep the elbows bent. And then can you relax your head? Put weight into all four corners of your feet. One more breath in. One more breath out. Draw your belly in. Come all the way up. And we're going to shift to triangle pose on the other side. So shifting the feet all the way over, you might be grabbing that block when you get there. We're going to turn the right toes in and you're going to take a couple of those shifts in the hips, kind of letting your body get used to that drawing of the left thigh bone back, resting that right hip forward, and then taking your bottom arm, reaching it out, feeling that length all the way through the rib cage. The hips separate from the ribs a bit, and then taking your hand down. Still hopefully feeling that much length in your spine. And this arm might come up, it might stay at your hip, it might slide behind your back. And if it slides behind your back, can you reach the elbow further away? It doesn't seem too crazy. Maybe your head relaxes down, not into the shoulder. Get down. See what you can let go of. Just let go of a lot. I thought it, and then I was like, oh man, I was holding some tension there. Didn't need it. One more exhale. Draw your belly in, reach that top arm up. We're gonna lift up, back to center. Now turn all 10 of your toes forward. We're gonna come down into a really easy fold. You might even bring your heels in a little bit more if that feels okay to you, but having the feet all in line can help release the outer calves, which sometimes we really need. So just kind of acknowledging that you might make a small shift. Let's come down into a fold. Maybe you even have a block down here so you don't have to worry about how far away the floor is or how long your arms are, because life is crazy enough. Rest this. What can you do to rest into this position? To find softness with yourself and peace with this place. Big breath in. Big breath out. Draw your belly in. Bring your hands to your hips. Lift yourself up. I'm going to bring the legs in for a moment. We're going to take eagle pose as our balance food shape, maybe working on bringing that top foot up this time. So just take a leg, cross it over, doesn't matter which one it is. Squeeze your inner thighs together, sit your hips back. Try to lift your top toes, and maybe you're just here, kind of playing with that. So you can bring your elbows and palms together, or your opposite arm on top, or give yourself a hug. You might layer that in. You're going to reach those hips back. Low in the hips, reaching back in the hips, squeezing the thighs. Inhale. Exhale. As you stand up, You're gonna straighten your legs and put that foot down. So see, my legs are crossed here. We're gonna release the arms. Hold on to the back leg arm. So if you're mirroring me, that's your right hand. You're gonna reach up and over and kind of bump your hip out to the side, just a little bit more spine lengthening. Can you push more into the back foot? One more breath out. Coming up, releasing your arms, and then uncrossing the legs. Feel longer on this side. And switch over to eagle on the other side. So you're going to cross legs. Start with squeezing these inner thighs together. Make it like one leg, like not two pieces that are aligned in the general vicinity of each other. Can you really like join this together? Maybe elbows, maybe, oh, that's the other arm crosses on top. Maybe you hug. And you can have all of these modifications. All of this twisting up can really confuse the body because it's like, oh, but it's this, but it's that. And it's, see, yep. Let's squeeze your inner thighs together. Try to find a oneness in these twisted limbs. Reach those hips back. One more exhale. Unwind your arms. You're going to straighten the legs. Set that front foot down. The pressure is more into the back foot, but we're squeezing the hips up and forward. Reach up and hold on to the back leg arm and then come up and over. Oh my. Always up and over, not just folding to the side. Up and over. Exhale. And coming up, release your arms, unwind your legs. Okay. We're gonna move from, I'll just tell you where we're going here. So we're gonna go from pyramid pose into our wide-legged forward fold, into revolve triangle. And that's it's gonna involve having to either know that you're not going to be square to the side of your mat in your pyramid pose, in your wide-legged forward fold, your prasarita, or you're just gonna have to adjust your feet. So it's either gonna go from this wide space to this inline space to the wide space, or it goes here. So there's just that little shift, and if that's like you're a very spatial visual person, then that'll be what we'll be doing there. So you'll have to shift your feet, or just know that it's not going to be squared off. Okay, so here's what you're going to do. You might even grab two. Yeah, you take two things, build yourself a tower on the inside of your right leg. I'll mirror you. And I want you to come into a place where you are relatively soft and easy about this forward fold. And maybe that means that you don't have anything, you're just going to put your hands on your thigh and you're only about this far forward. You got to lift your inner thigh muscle so not to put pressure on the knee. Maybe you do have a block or a tower out in front of you, or your hands easily come to the floor. And don't worry about lengthening your spine. Can you soften here? And give yourself some space to, well, not wide enough. There we go. Rest that right thigh back. More soft in the spine, giving some space into the lower back. Being with what is, being with what comes up. Maybe you can roll the inner right thigh up to the sky a little bit more. One more exhale. And then you can take that block with you, man, as you walk yourself over into this prasarita. And if you wanted to be squared to that side of your mat, you just give your foot a little hop, yeah? And then you're gonna take your body over towards that leg you were just going towards, to your right leg. Maybe you have that block over there and you just pull yourself in. And then can you roll both inner thighs back towards the space behind you, which might kind of balance the weight on your feet. Can you actively balance the pressure of both of your feet into the floor? Can you soften in that back anywhere as you twist over towards this right leg? Breathe in. Soften something as you exhale. And then start to release this. You're gonna come up and shift yourself back into that pyramid pose space. So this back leg is gonna hop up here, and you're probably gonna put a block underneath your left hand. Now roll your inner thigh on this leg upwards, which might help to bring this knee forward. It might help to square the hips. And then you're gonna take your right hand into the small of your back. Now send your heart forward as much as you can. Now soften. So you have some length, but you don't need to go ratcheting it up there. So as long as you can, and then rest where it's long. Now your elbow is gonna come up, but also reach that elbow back. You feel it? So you can take the elbow up and then the shoulder ratchets up. Can you reach the elbow back to open that shoulder as well? And then you can revolve just the top couple of vertebrae by turning your head over, and then you have revolved your triangle. Maybe you start rolling the heart more open, and if that makes your hips do wonky things, can you roll that inner thigh up to the sky on the right leg? Maybe even roll the inner thigh back on the left leg. One more exhale. And then you're gonna release this fold, start to take yourself up. And you could also lift that top arm. I was like, no, just this chest opening up into that space is just so cool. I am gonna face the other way so that I can roll towards you in revolve triangle when we get there. So move my mat around during all those boat things. Set yourself up for pyramid, so you've got your feet that warrior one distance where they're on those train tracks, not squeezed in. You've got whatever you need down here. You make a tower, you just go over and put a chair in front of you, rest somewhere. You're gonna come down, roll your inner thigh on that left leg up, and soften your body here. There we go. Where is there resistance? For most of us, the answer is, oh my gosh, where is there not resistance in this shape? I'm a hamstring foldy kind of person, and I still have this constant, like, I'm falling over the place and my hips are doing weird things, and all of a sudden my hamstring will be like, no, we're done. But what can you do to greet that resistance? Do you need to come out? Come out. Can you be there and work with the discomfort to breathe through the discomfort? Maybe you do that. Rest that left hip back. One more breath in. Soften as you breathe out. And you might take that block with you into Prasarita, or kind of scooch it to the side. You might adjust your feet, or just know that you won't be square on your mat. And then from this wide-legged forward fold, you're going to take your attention over towards your left leg. And there's a little bit of a twist in the upper body. And then my legs stayed pretty stable there. I'm not doing a big shift around in my hips, but if there's some shifting of your hips, of course, that's okay. Let this be the upper body drawing into that left leg. Ooh, something just opened up in my outer left hip. It was a miracle. What might be able to open up there for you? One more breath out. And release that drawing over to the leg. You're going to come back to the center, bend your knees a little bit, lift yourself up, and adjust your feet so that they're going back into that same positioning you had for pyramids. It's a little bit different than triangle. We have that like sideways space between our legs, unlike in triangle when we're lined up, because we need to give space to rotate the pelvis. Just like you needed to give space to rotate the pelvis to come over the leg in triangle. So we give this space to rotate forward. You take whatever you want on the inside. This foot. Adjust a little bit. Can you roll this inner thigh upwards? And take this hand into the small of your back. And then reach the elbow back to open the chest. Rest this thumb back. Lift maybe that back inner thigh. You see that little shift that happened there? ears away from the shoulders. Now you can reach this arm up. Maybe keep the hand here and just feel this continuous rolling open. And it might be that you're here and you're just looking your head over like, look at my revolved head. I'm already feeling like my balance is balanced. That's good. Be where you're at. Revolved triangle is an extremely complex shape. It may not look like it, but then you're in it and you're like, what? Why this? Big breath in. Big breath out. Releasing, bending what you need, coming up to standing, bringing both feet up. All right. Go ahead and bring yourself into the front of your mat space here. 2 feet down underneath your hips. Drop your arms by your sides. And the answering of that question, why revolved triangle? Just to find balance in the midst of uncertainty, in the midst of chaos. The same reason we do most of this. Really settle into your next exhale. And feel your feet root down as you reach your arms up, expanding your body long. Go through another round of breath, and when you get to your next inhale, see if you can reach up a little bit longer, and then soften whatever you can as you come down into a forward fold. So releasing anywhere as you find tension as you go. And then one more inhale. Let's come halfway up. So you're going to maybe keep your knees a little bit soft here. Send your tail back and feel your heart lifting up. Relax your collarbones. On your exhale, bend the knees, plant the hands. You can come back to child's pose or to downward dog. It is dealer's choice here, rather yogi's choice. And dealer's choice would be my choice. And not everything needs to be up to me. It'd all be up to you. Big breath in. Big exhale. And we'll come into child's pose for a moment. Maybe rock those hips side to side. Big breath in. Big breath out. Start to walk your hands back in. You're going to come down to a seat. And if you find folds to be not super great on your body, even though we've already been prepping for a lot of this, I want you to just grab something and sit up on it. So you might sit up on a block, or you've got a pillow and kind of sit, I sit like kind of half on the edge here, so it tilts the pelvis gently forward. Yeah, okay. So coming forward over this leg, try not to square your hips directly, be a little bit more open. Yes, you might even open this knee up a little bit more than you might usually. And then you're going to turn a little twist in your body, lift those toes, and then draw yourself forward into this one-legged forward fold again, which is probably a drastically different experience than your first one. And if you're here, that's great. I'm backing off in these classes for a long time because I just want to make sure that we're kind of all in the same space, and then my hamstrings got tight. So I'm going to take this one for myself. Okay, good. Can you roll gently, ever so slightly, the inside of your front thigh upwards towards the ceiling? That leg that you're rolling over, can you roll that inner thigh up? Can you find the tension and give it permission to GTFO? Big breath in. Big breath out. And start lifting yourself up. I'm going to move from here into Stargazer. So take This hand far back away from the hip. You're gonna roll up onto your shin. And then before we were in this like kind of side space, here now the hips are open, the heart turns up. So a little bit different. So we had the side gate. This is stargazer, where I'm going into more of a back bend, a heart opening, lifting shape. And when you're ready, go ahead and rest it down. We'll switch sides. So you'll take the other leg off. So I've got this squared space. I have a little bit more room to move around in the pelvis if I'm a little bit more open. So there's reasons to be in both places. Today, we're gonna give ourselves this more open space, maybe adjust some flesh here. Try to keep toes generally lifted and then come down over this thigh. A tight one. Ooh, just greeting those sensations as they come, those feelings. Mm-hmm. See there as the shape changes and develops, even if it's ever so subtle, even if you're not sure that it does. One more exhale. Start to take yourself up. I'm going to turn over towards that bent leg. You can see a little bit more from the back here. I'm going to roll up onto the shin. This hand is good and far away from my hip. As I roll up, its heart up like so, yeah? Really expanding out in all directions. Reach, inhale. And then roll it back down. I'm going to take, if you had anything underneath your hips, go ahead and set it off to your side. You might use it for Shavasana. It can be really nice to slide it under your thighs in Shavasana. In fact, I might do that. And then you're going to come down on your back. Feet down. Let's go right up into bridge pose. After that stargazer, you might be ready for it. So feet are in line with your hips. Shoulders are down. Wiggle the shoulders more underneath your back as you press the hips up. Maybe you interlace your fingers behind your back. Push down on those feet. Reach the knees forward. The heart right up into your nostrils. Take a big breath in. Soften your throat as you exhale. Maybe release the heart more. And relax the shoulders. Take it back down. Walk the feet a little bit wider. Knock the knees against each other. And start to bring your knees up into your chest. Rocking a little bit side to side, massaging around the lower back. And then open your knees out. Let's take a twist over to the right side. Letting that back space soften, letting the hips relax. Giving the left shoulder permission to relax. Excuse me. One more breath out. And then start rolling your knees over into a twist to the other side. Think little fidgets if you need to, but then try to find a space where you can be soft with yourself. To relax into what is. One more breath. And come back to the center. Start with feet planted down just to let yourself settle into the earth for a moment. If there is anything else that you need at the end of practice, please go there, seek that out for yourself. Because I meant like sometimes taking something squishy, placing it underneath the thighs can help to relax. If hip flexors are tender or hamstrings are tender, just giving ourselves this softness. First, set it off to your side or take a seated meditation or legs bent, whatever is more in line with what you need at this moment, giving yourself that space. And as we settle into Shavasana, if you recall this part of your body that called your awareness earlier, come back there. Examine it. Is the response or the sensation or maybe the words, the language that makes sense to you there, has it changed at all? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Not everything gets fixed in an hour and 15 minutes of yoga, but it can be a step in the work. And once you've asked that question, and once you've kind of explored that space, we can let that inquiry go for the time being, allowing ourselves to simply be here and rest in this Shavasana. For the next several minutes, just enjoy the tunes. As you start to come back to your body, as you take a few deeper breaths, maybe make some small movements. I offer one more thing about this little examination that you've made, maybe this part in your body where you've identified something that you're interested in working with or that you did work with. Give yourself the freedom to experience whatever you experience there. Whatever you're feeling there, it is what it is. It's either developing to be something beautiful, or it's perhaps been a teacher in some way, or something that you can be grateful is gone whenever it's gone. Hi. You start to roll yourself over to one side, turning inwards. In gratitude for our practice, even the uncomfortable bits. Start to work your way up to a comfortable seat. Feel free to prop yourself up however you like. Sit in a way that makes sense in your body and bring your hands to your heart if that makes sense for your seat. Deep breath in for Om. Bowing down to the love inside of each of our hearts and the light and the darkness that resides within us all. Namaste, friends. Hey. Thank you all so much for being here. I appreciate folks who keep popping in new and who've been here for a long time. This is great. I'm going to be starting a new class. I'm just going to try it out for March and see how it goes. Not this Tuesday, but the first Tuesday in March. So it'll be at 5:30 p.m. Pacific time. Yeah. And it'll be a little bit more movement oriented. It'll be about like an hour class instead of a slightly longer, but my goal is not to kill you. My goal is to have a little bit more continuous movement than some of the slower stuff that we tend to do on Sundays. So if you're curious about anything, if you are like wondering like what that might look like, I made a couple of posts about it, and I'd be happy to answer any other questions that you might have. Thanks for being here.